later this week, but picking up all the pieces from Game 7 and the Cleveland Cavaliers' very unlikely run to a first title in, it's been a long time. Let's call it 52 years to be honest and accurate. Dieter Kurtenbach, but he has been covering the NBA for Fox Sports. He's a senior writer there and ramping up for the college season as well. He joins us now live via satellite. You can follow his journey out on Twitter at D Kurtenbach. That's Kurtenbach. And as your Twitter points out, Dieter, it is all good right now for anybody in the land of Cleveland. Amazing 3 games. All that bad stuff with the Browns and the Indians, right?
It was so astounding the way that the Cavaliers won the NBA Finals. I haven't fully come to grips with it. I mean, you just expect a team from Cleveland to take it to the limit to see over decades, and there are documentaries and books and decades of heartbreak did the last 3 games, which is, I would say, the best 3-game stretch of any player I've ever seen in my life. And the final 3 minutes that actually went in for either team. And I'm watching Cleveland celebrate on Sunday night, game 7, and it was very surreal. It was a surreal moment. You can only get excited for the people in Cleveland who put up with so much nonsense, so much heartbreak for so long. It's a great town. They had a great team that beat another great team to sort of erase all of that depression and all of that angst. And it couldn't have happened behind a better player, LeBron James.
Well, with Golden State, you've seen them win so many of these games, and certainly their forte is hitting long shots and improbable shots. And at some point, there's a reason no one in the history of the game has made those kind of shots consistently. They did it, 73 games strong during the course of the regular season. But I'm with you on the Cleveland side. I've seen them. I was at the Drive game in 1986 when Elway drove on them. I have witnessed some of these things in person on TV. The fumble with Ernest Biner, who I've gotten to know. Obviously, Ozzie Newsome was a part of all of that stuff as well. And I thought with 2 minutes left to go in the game being tied, I thought, well, this will be a bitch for Cleveland, right? I mean, crawling back out of the 3-1 hole and coming back into this thing and willing themselves back in. And in the end, Curry or Thompson, somebody's going to hit one of these threes and put it away. And I even thought that after, Cleveland went up 3 before LeBron got fouled, I thought, this thing's still going to go overtime. We're still not done with this because I thought all along Golden State was going to win. I thought they proved over the course of the year they were the better team. I thought their sort of Waterloo moment of going to Oklahoma City and almost losing there and then the 3-1 lead, I'm blown away. And I know LeBron and the Cavs will be this story. This is a huge story about Golden State spitting it up over the last week, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that it can be broken down into one simple thing, and it was Steph Curry. And not to put overarching tones on it, but Steph Curry was not himself, and a lot of the numbers don't bear that out. You look at the numbers and you say, well, he was still scoring, and you can even look at the advanced statistics, and he's running the same amount of miles per hour and the same amount of distance. He's getting the same amount of touches. But the difference for Stephen Curry in the NBA Finals is, and actually it was happening in the Western Conference Finals as well once he returned, he wasn't scoring at the hoop. And teams figured out, the Cavaliers never really had to worry or kind of stopped dealing with it. They didn't have to respect his inside game. And Steph Curry is great not only because he can make these ridiculous three-pointers. When he draws you out after making those ridiculous three-pointers, he then goes inside and he kills you at the hoop. He finished with a shooting percentage at the hoop very similar to LeBron James. I believe it was 68% to 70% with LeBron winning that battle this year. That's where Steph Curry's so great. He was in these NBA Finals, and my recollection is he was below 50% in the 3 games that the Warriors won in the Western Conference Finals, those final 3 games. So when the three-pointer isn't going, he had nothing. And that's the difference. He became dependent on the three-pointer. And while we remember all these wonderfully distant and Herculean three-point attempts, Curry had both the inside game and the outside game that made him the immensely dynamic offensive player and the guy that we knew. And when he didn't have that inside game, the Cavs could key in and just make him take really long three-pointers. And while the numbers showed up, he didn't command the same sort of respect from the Cavaliers defense. And I think that was the difference. And that's how the Cavaliers essentially took the last 3 games. They found that Steph Curry was mortal, and they put the ball in his hands repeatedly and said, prove you're not.
I tell you what, rarely have we seen a star of his stature win 73 games, and whether it's Magic and Bird, somebody had to lose there and somebody had to win, but it usually wasn't somebody disappearing in a finals. And certainly for star players, this is going to be a bumpy offseason for the Golden State Warriors, right, who were built to put this thing together and win. I know one not going to happen.
No, yeah, I totally agree. This is going to be a really bumpy. It's going to be really bumpy for the Warriors this offseason. I think that they were expecting that this was the year they had to get it done. If they get it done, then they stay together, no problems, and they don't get put in a situation where they're like, okay, do we need to make a big move right now? They just re-sign Harrison Barnes, re-sign Festus Ezeli, keep the team together, no worries going forward. That's pretty much not the case now for this team. I think Al Horford is very much in play for these Warriors. It's exciting because it's exciting and it brings intrigue, and I don't ultimately know if any of these big overarching things that will be talked about will come to pass. But at the same back, there's not that much discussion about them. They're the greatest team of all time if they go back-to-back, and everyone just takes them for granted. And I don't think that that's going to be the case. They're going to have to look in the mirror and say it wasn't just that Steph Curry was strength. There were other problems. Harrison Barnes was really bad in the last 3 games, and that is just as much a reason, if not more of a reason, that the Warriors ended up losing. And you can go down the line. Bad minutes from Festus Ezeli. Anderson Varejao was Warriors in Game 7. You're looking at just the lack of depth. Is Andrew Bogut a guy you want on this team? Now everything is up for grabs. Everything is up for scrutiny. And that is so astounding to me, considering that like a month ago, we were talking about how long can this team stay together because they're the greatest thing we've ever.
All things basketball at Fox Sports. You can follow his journey there or at D. Kurtenbach. That's Kurtenbach out on Fox Sports as well as on Twitter for updates all day long. I guess history will not be kind to Golden State because they came this close to winning 2 titles. It didn't happen, so it feels like they didn't come close to winning this title. They had the ball in their hands. It was a close game. They had a late lead. But it's going to feel very, very distant, like they didn't come close to winning because you either win or you don't, as Cleveland found out last year, right?
Yeah, and I think that actually the fact that it was, you kind of put all the greatness on the line when you have the final 2 minutes of a tied game in the NBA Finals and you're on your home court. And it comes down to who executes. And it sucks that things become that simplistic, but I mean, honestly, it is to a certain degree. It's put up or shut up time. Who did? And in that situation, you saw exactly what happened. LeBron James made an unbelievable block. Kyrie Irving hit a big shot. Where was Steph Curry? Where was Klay Thompson? Draymond Green was doing his job, but you don't want Draymond Green taking the game-winning shot in the NBA Finals. That's where the Warriors were at. And put up or shut up time, they did not come through. And all the wins, everything that they had done to that point really boiled down to those 2 minutes, and it didn't come together. And, I totally agree. It might seem distant. It might seem right there. It doesn't matter. It's a disappointment. The greatest team of all time needs to end the season in a title, and the Warriors were that team up until the time that they didn't win the title. So now we have to go back to the drawing board and figure out, and I think it will take a while to figure out just where they lie in the pantheon of great teams, because they're certainly not at the top.
One of the things that really stands out when you watch these teams play is how far away so many of these other teams really are. And I know with the draft coming up, and I know Boston's going to pick high in there already, but most of these top 10 teams, you look at them and you can't even imagine that there's going to come a point where they can stay on the court with either one of those 2 teams on Sunday night.
Yeah, the only team that I could say, maybe that has a high draft pick is Minnesota because of their young talent. But I think that's sort of a next generational thing. By the time that Carl Towns and Wiggins and whoever they get in this draft or whatever they end up doing, that young talent sort of comes into their 25, 26, 27. I think that the Warriors, their current iterations, will sort of be over the hill. Right now, yeah, you don't see any of these teams. There is a pretty impressive talent gap. There's a chasm that's really bad and really good, and you really only want to be two of those things in the NBA. If you're going to be bad, be really bad. If you're going to be good, you better be really good, because it is a league that rewards extremes, and it will be very interesting to see how the rest of the teams that are sort of on the outside looking in from the Warriors, and they'll be fine. They could improve, but you just stay the course, and what's the problem? You won 73 games. And the Cavs, who really have no choice but to stay the course given their salary cap situation, it'll be really, really interesting to see how the Thunder, who really I don't think have a lot of flexibility other than just keeping the guys they have on their team right now and hoping they'll stay around after that, how they respond, because they were right. The Spurs, who are trying to sort of rebuild on the fly, how they do it. And Boston's the biggest question, because you look at Kevin Love in the Celtics. There's sort of a match there, and there's a lot of talk about ends up. They're going to have to make that move pretty soon here, certainly before the draft, because Boston is very pick rich, I guess is the right way to put it, and that's something that they can give the Cavs that can sort of make it even, if you would, for that $19 million contract Kevin Love has going next year. So I think that, like, Kevin Love, if he does go to Boston, he might literally be traded during the parade, which is kind of astounding. It just shows how fast the NBA moves.
Well, and getting traded during the parade, I think they would have traded him out after Game 5 or 6, right? But in the end, it was his defense when you broke down an ISO in the last 45 seconds of the game that, was a big part of them winning.
I agree with that. Kevin Love did everything in his power to stop Stephen Curry from scoring there. But, Stephen Curry also stopped himself from scoring there pretty significantly, too. I think that even in the last 48 hours or so, we've sort of Kevin Love locked down Stephen Curry in the final seconds, and they didn't get the shot up. There was 2 minutes left, and it was Stephen Curry could have very easily driven to the hole and gotten 2 points in a 3-point game. And he even admitted this after the contest, that it was a mistake. He got too 3-point happy. And I think that speaks to just sort of how lost he was when he was driving past the 3-point line, when he was actually going to the hoop. That Kevin Love is giving him a wide open lane to the middle of the basket, and all he has to do is drive it and take it, and he didn't do it. And I think that Love did as good of a job as he could have, but I honestly still think it comes down to Stephen Curry not trusting himself at the there, and sort of a Rorschach test for what you want to believe.
Any thoughts on the draft on Thursday and the 76ers and Ben Simmons?
I think I'm not personally sold on Ben Simmons, though I do firmly believe that he's by far the best prospect in this draft. I'm not sure that I would want to build a franchise around Ben Simmons. You look at all of his amazing talents and his ability to see the court. I mean, he's got some really amazing stuff that he can do. But, man, his inability to hit a jump shot is about to start teaching how to do this thing. I think Brandon Ingram, if he goes to the Lakers, number 2, will be a really nice fit there. I really like how the Lakers have set themselves up. It took a lot of luck to get that draft pick, and they really went all in on getting a high draft pick this year, but I really think that they'll be set up there. The rest of the draft, man, what a crapshoot. Like, I'm not a big fan of Buddy Hield, but I can see him even going 3rd. It's really quite crazy how bad this draft is. Dragon Bender, who I think is probably the 3rd best prospect in this draft, I'm not even sure if he's an impact player for 2 or 3, maybe even 4 or 5 years. And that just speaks to really how crappy it is. So, bad time to be a lottery team. If you ever want, I don't think that you should be mediocre. You always want to get into the lottery if you can, if you're not going to be contending for a title. But you could as well have been in the lottery. You might as well have been mediocre this year, because there is not a lot of talent to be had
Yeah, all of this sucking, and this is your reward, right, for stinking for about 9 months, right? Hey, Dieter, great having you on, man. We're going to send everybody out to Fox Sports to follow your journey as well as at D. Curtin. Hoops with you, man. Enjoy the week.
Anytime. Talk to you later.
You got it. D. Kurtenbach is the way to find him. That's Kurtenbach and out at foxsports.com. Does a nice job with a variety of sports, including the college area, but also covering the NBA. You can find me out on the Bahia Toyota Audio Vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device. Just download the TuneIn Radio app. We come in crystal clear from wherever you are. Our morning newspaper hits your email inbox at 7 a.m. That's all powered up by Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com. Still $10 a month to get in the best shape of your life there. And last but never least, breaking news. You never know when the Orioles or the Ravens are going to make a move. When it happens first on the WNST Tech Service. That is all powered up by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore. And we never stop talking Baltimore sports